Funny about that. You know who was asking about you the other day? Who's that? Nobody.
We talking about sports, get ball.
What it do, baby? Yeah.
What it do, you number one podcast listeners? We are back with a brand new episode of the number one podcast in your headphones, Prem Brulee. I'm your host, Premal Bhatt, and I'm joined by my big brother, Vish. Vish, welcome back.
What up? What up? Thank you.
We got a lot to cover today, so why don't we go ahead and get started? And you know how we like to kick things off. It's yeah, fam or nah. Got a couple quick ones here because, like we say in other episodes, we know why you came here, and it's for that you played yourself. So first up, you had one to bring up for us, Vish, so I'll let you take it away.
Yeah, so yeah, fam or nah, Shohei Hatin as the first MLB player in history to record 50 home runs and 50 steals as part of the 50-50 club.
Crazy.
And just as context, on the day he broke and hit that 50-50 mark, he was 6 for 6 with 3 home runs, 10 RBIs, and 2 stolen bases.
Wow.
So yeah, fam or nah.
It's hard not to bet on Shohei. You know what I'm saying?
This is true. Yeah. I got you. Very nicely done. Very nicely done.
You know why you came here. You've heard my takes about Mike Trout. I decided I'm going to be a Shohei Ohtani hater. No particular reason, but
wow.
Let's see him win something. There's no denying he's really good, but until the same thing happens, I want to see it in the postseason. Can put up gaudy stats all we want. Yes, he's a generational talent, but that doesn't mean I can't hate on the guy. So, no, in reality, I know he's good. I'm not denying that, but I think he needs to go down a peg. So we can't have everybody just unanimously loving him while nobody gives him any shit. So I'm happy to be that person. So, yeah, I'm a nah.
Let's
put it on the board. Nah.
Hey,
fuck it.
That's a nice zag. I think I was not expecting that, so it threw me for a loop. But
I have no foundation or reason to say it other than I'm a hater. So
petty,
it's an
so I don't have to get petty.
I'm with you, kind of what you said, but I'm a yeah fan. I love the history of it. Just for a generational player, I think 10, 15, 20 years ago, I probably would have had a different spin on this. And now I'm just like, hey, just appreciate greatness, and baseball is a little different too. There's all these random things that happen where, yes, there's going to be some dynasties that are involved, but it's very rare for them to win multiple championships or multiple World Series. So
there's great parity in Major League Baseball. I will say, you don't need to be the biggest spender to have postseason accolades. So. We'll see if it works for the Dodgers. We've talked about how much they've spent this past offseason. We'll see as the playoffs approach, which is a nice segue to talk MLB playoffs. I don't really have a yeah, fam or nah, but I know some of you number one podcast listeners come to us for your sports news. We are the number one source of sports news out there, so don't ever play yourselves. But I did want to talk about this because MLB playoffs start very soon, and it feels like the playoff format changes every year, but it actually did change for this year coming up. So I wanted to break it down for the number one podcast listeners really quick, and then we'll get back to you, fam or nah. The playoffs went up to 6 teams from each league, 12 total, up from 10 previously. So last few years it's been 5 and 5, 5 AL, 5 NL teams. They are doing 3 division winners who will be the top 3 seeds and 3 wildcard teams. It is bracket style, so the top 2 seeds, the best and second best division winning records, get buys. They go straight to the division series. The 3 seed plays the 6 seed, and that matchup then plays the 2 seed. The 4 seed and 5 seed play each other. The winner plays the 1 seed. So you may remember back in the day from NFL, they basically match up based on lowest seed, highest seed. MLB's not doing that. It's pure bracket style. So even if the 6 seed upsets the 3, they still are going to go play the 2 seed. They aren't going to go play the 1. The wild card round, so that 3 versus 6 and 4 versus 5 on each side, is a 3-game series. It's no longer a winner take all one game. All 3 games are at the higher seeds ballpark, and they're in like 3 consecutive days. Just wanted to update you, number one podcast listeners, if you sense that it's a little different. If your team's in the wild card round, they're going to be playing 3 days in a row, and they'll already know who they're playing in the next round. They win. We go back to the FM or Nah, and this one is claiming news headlines across the sports world. But UNLV's quarterback, Matthew Sluka, made headlines because he's using his red shirt after not receiving NIL money he was promised. So this is per ESPN. UNLV quarterback Matthew Sluka left the undefeated Rebels on Tuesday night over claims of unfulfilled verbal NIL promises from a UNLV assistant coach. Obviously, this decision accentuates the NIL era we're in college sports. Sluka's agent, just saying he has an agent as a college athlete is different than before. His agent, Marcus Cromartie, told ESPN that UNLV didn't come through on a verbal offer. The quarterback's father, Bob Sluka, told ESPN that the head coach, Barry Odom, later said in a phone conversation that the offer wasn't valid because it didn't come from him, but rather from offensive coordinator Brennan Marion, who declined to comment to ESPN. So, I know it's a confusing yeah fam or not, but in general, are you a yeah fam to Sluka making this move or a nah to it? We'll take it from the perspective of the move itself, and then you can elaborate. I'll go first. I am a yeah fam to this, and my phrase association with this is just the start. I'm a yeah fam from Sluka's point of view, because if you're promised something and that's the reason maybe you chose a college, whether people like this era or not, the fact of the matter is I'm a big be a person of your word type of person. So I assume he's not pulling this number out of thin air, because it's compared to some of the numbers that have been thrown around with other collegiate athletes, $100,000 doesn't seem like a crazy far-fetched number from what we've heard. NIL, there's no way around it. It's a mess, and right now it's the Wild West. But I think you'll see more and more of this. In fact, UNLV's like 3rd or 4th running back decided to take a red shirt, kind of for the same reasons. And the UNLV football program already removed him from their website. It was real like sound that petty alert energy.
Petty alert, petty alert, petty alert.
I think we're going to see way more of this until it's regulated. I think that's going to happen sooner than later. But I can't deny this type of thing might speed up that process. But yeah, just the start is my phrase for this. What about you, Vish?
Yeah, agreed. I think you said it perfectly. It's just a mess, right? It's something that we can't. There's no one that's overseeing this body. There's no one that's looking at it. I think I'd mentioned it before or just heard it in podcasts, and I can't remember if I mentioned it on the podcast on Premal or not, but at some point they just got to go to contracts, and that will help both from accountability standpoint, both from the university or the athletic department or whatever fund is, wherever the dollars are coming from. And so if a player doesn't fulfill their ends, they're kind of liable as well. So it's kind of all in terms of what that looks like. So that's where I'll keep it. It's just silly. It sucks, but I completely kind of empathize on the player's perspective. If they're promised something, they don't get it. Good for them.
Yeah, there are definitely reports of over-promising and under-delivering for players. This is the first time I can recall someone acting on it from the player's point of view, so I wonder if this will open the floodgates or not, but time will tell. Okay, so this one also is not a yeah, fam or not, but I did want to take time to mention this and get your perspective. Vish, you're obviously a hockey fan. We all know I'm the number one source of hockey news here, big hockey guy here, but nonetheless, all joking aside, if there is a hockey team I root for, it's our hometown Columbus Blue Jackets. Go Jackets, go hockey. But I wanted to take a step away from that and wanted to take time on our episode to talk about the tragic death of Blue Jackets player Johnny Gaudreau and his brother Matthew. Obviously, this isn't a yeah fam or not because this is a nah for every single person out there. But I just want to get your perspective, Vish. You have better perspective and follow the Jackets closer than I do. So wanted to open the floor up to you with in relation to Johnny Gaudreau. Definitely a star in the NHL, passing away far, far too soon.
Yeah, this is a rough one, just on a multitude of reasons, right? I think it's just the nature of how it happened. Those, as you kind of described, it's just, you're going on a normal bike ride with your brother in a town that and during your sister's wedding weekends. And then, not to mention, you start to learn some of the other things of Johnny Gaudreau's wife expecting another baby, and just tragic all around. And they're a hockey family through and through. From that Northeast corridor, and what he's meant to New Jersey, kind of near the Philadelphia area as well, and then Boston College, that whole area. And then he also kind of beyond that, and it just sucks for someone to lose their life, right?
Yeah.
And outside of him as a person, just a great community member. You're in Columbus. Me being from Columbus, it's really rare for someone to say, hey, I want to make Columbus my home. That's coming from the outside looking in. And he did that.
As a hockey player.
Hockey player, exactly. So, and then beyond that, just an integral part of the community, then just a warm presence in the locker room. Him on the ice was just also special. And then so losing him from that perspective as they're kind of going into this rebuilding standpoint is just something that is just tragic all around. So yeah, let's roll, keep it.
Yeah. I don't think number one podcast listeners out there, you may or may not know the idea of a top player in that sport choosing Columbus was a huge moment in our franchise's history. We don't historically get players like that. You get players on rentals who can't wait to get out of here. So someone of his stature choosing Columbus was a big deal. It was a big moment for hockey in our town where we have such loyal fans. It was a sign of positive things to come. So, losing your life, your brother losing his life. I think he had his first kid on the way. Matthew did.
Yep.
There's nothing not sad about this. And like you said, even from a hockey perspective, which we obviously acknowledge is far secondary to it, it changes a lot of trajectories of on ice as well as off ice. So yeah, it's a shitty thing. You can see his legacy just from the outpouring of love. In Columbus and even where he played before in Calgary, there was, candlelight vigils, people mourning his loss. You can tell he meant a lot on the ice and off. So yeah, hopefully his family is finding even the slightest bit of solace in some of those good memories for Johnny and Matthew, but two lives taken far too soon with so much more to give the world is just no fun. And it intersects with sports because he's such a good hockey player, but says a lot that more of the conversation was about who he was as a person. So
right.
Tremendous legacy, but wish we weren't talking about it for someone who's way, way too young.
100%.
Anyway, no easy way to segue from it, but I wanted to get back to you came here to listen to You Played Yourself, so let's shift gears and get to maybe things that'll make you happy and maybe me a little mad. Shift away from sadness, at least, nonetheless. But let's hit that You Played Yourself.
I'm petty as hell. And I'm super petty.
Here we
Petty Le Pew.
go.
All right, you number one podcast listeners, it is time for You Played Yourself. And I figure, fuck it. We might as well start with it. You know who's coming to the front of the You Played Yourself congregation. They might as well be a Hall of Fame member at this point, right? Because it happens every year, multiple times. So, You Played Yourself goes to the Dallas Cowboys.
Who?
Just in general for sucking the happiness out of Cowboys fans' lives every fall, without fail. Maybe they last until winter, but it sure seems like fall this year. Definitely a You Played Yourself Hall of Fame member, Jerry Jones. Most recently, his quote was that we couldn't afford Derrick Henry.
But that's what happens when you don't sign good ones. They can come back and have a great game against you. But the bottom line is we couldn't afford Derrick Henry.
Derrick Henry, who ran all over his Cowboys defense, that's sorry as sorry can be. Then you have your star quarterback, Dak Prescott, saying after the game, jump off the bandwagon if you want. What the fuck are we doing, guys? This fucking clown show. Like, I'm sure this won't be bookmarked later for the inevitable letdown that happens every single fucking year. This type of energy, like from Dak, jump off the bandwagon, is so fucking corny from athletes. Fans are literally not on the bandwagon. They are the bandwagon, not on anything. The reason you have that attention is the fucking fans. Don't get it fucking twisted one bit that you have the audacity to fucking suck on the field and tell us how we should feel. This notion that athletes have where they tell us how to be fans. Granted, full disclaimer, fans within reason. We're not getting crazy. We're not doing anything outside of the realm of being a fan and cheering for product on the field. Let's get that set. Like, I'm not excusing anything absolutely crazy. But this idea that a player should tell a fan how to act or to not be disappointed, or how dare you jump off a supposed bandwagon that the only reason you have it is because of the fucking fans. Like, it is so lame. At best, it's so lame. Like, we're the enemy. Your fans are the enemy because we call it how we see it. You fucking sucked. And I know every Cowboy fan in that Ravens game knew they went down 28-6. Here go the Cowboys putting up empty fucking stats. They're going to make it just close enough to break your heart again. And what did they do? But I tell you what, number one podcast listeners, and Vish, you can attest to this. In our group chat, in our family group chat, I have been saying for years, I haven't executed properly, but I've been saying for years, I refuse to be surprised by this inevitable disappointment. I refuse to be surprised by this ineptitude. I refuse to be surprised that they're allergic to prosperity. And true to my word, finally, I have turned the game off at halftime the last 2 weeks. They got blown out by the Saints, and they were getting blown out by the Ravens. And I even said, as I got the notifications coming up, my wife asked, hey, don't you want to go watch that? Aren't they coming back? I said, they're going to do this and lose. And I know it's going to happen. You just know the recipe's the same. As things change, the thing you can count on is the Cowboys letdown. And sure enough, they did it against the Ravens. This Cowboys team simply just isn't good. And they certainly aren't even in the ballpark of being contenders. So luckily, I've not heard any conversations about that. You know, preseason, you heard it some because, you know, they still have star players across the board. But they were contenders last year. And the only thing they did this offseason was got actively worse. It was never going to be magically better this year. Because if you have a non-existent offseason, if you literally stand by and do nothing, how can you expect a product to get better if all you're seeing is negatives? You're seeing talent go out the door. You're not replacing it with talent. You're not doing anything to help your situation. There's no conceivable possibility that you can get better. Their strategy was to hope, I guess. But here we are, just a few weeks into the season. Maybe Jerry Jones should have started their offseason before fucking, I don't know, like September 1st. He chose to sign CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott. CeeDee Lamb was maybe a week before the season started. He extended Dak Prescott literally hours before their first game. If you were going to do that, why not do it earlier? Everybody said the same thing. You got to sign him early so it leaves you cap room to get talent. And what did Jerry Jones do? Absolutely nothing. He sat on his hands. And see, what's going to happen next is if they continue to suck, they're going to call for Mike McCarthy's seat. His seat's already hot, and then maybe Jerry Jones will do a midseason firing. He doesn't do it historically pretty often, but he's going to get scapegoated. What really should happen is Jerry Jones should have fired him after that performance against the Green Bay Packers, which has now spilled over into the next season because last season they couldn't lose at home, and the Green Bay Packers changed that, and now since then they have lost in the most grand of fashion 3 times in a row at home, totally sucking. Their defense just getting run through as if they aren't even on the field. But now he's going to blame it on Mike McCarthy because they did nothing in the offseason. Just watch. The defense from last year already needed a lead and to force turnovers to do well. They got hidden behind their turnover forcing, and when they got a lead, their really good pass rush could get after the quarterback, and it looked like a great product. But what did the Jones family do? You guessed it, fucking nothing. And that nothing went along with losing their defensive coordinator to a head coaching job in Washington. They spent no money on either side of the ball, let players go, and they got more inexperienced. In what realm of possibility were they even going to do the same as the last few years? It's not even in the ballpark of possibilities with that combination. The Cowboys defense truly looks like a get-right defense. Like if your team is struggling, you want to play them next. And you want to just run down their throat. Lamar Jackson threw 15 times in their game. A pro quarterback. That sounds like a high school. They literally did what they want with the Cowboys defense. And you would think, oh, maybe it was a fluke game. No, the Cowboys had that same level of ineptitude the week before against the Saints, and they fixed none of it. You would think they didn't even practice this week. It's unbelievable how bad of a product they are. And it's like their only strategy was to hope. And most recently, the one thing that gives me solace is there was a fan survey done, and a vast majority of Dallas Cowboys fans placed blame on Jerry Jones, and the results of the poll got back to Jerry Jones. That makes me so happy. The next thing that just came down the pike today, or very recently, is that there's a petition to have Jerry Jones fire Jerry Jones, the GM, from that position. Wow. And that makes me so happy. Nothing's going to change, but those little moments just give me a little bit of juice, a little bit of life, you know? And that's just, you know, the small victories is what we'll take. It'll never, never, never change, because after Jerry decides to step down, it'll just be his family, and we'll have more of the same. I've told you this a million times, you number one podcast listeners, but I told you, I'm unwilling to be surprised anymore. I am going to do my best. Now, you know, of course, you know the inevitable football is dead is coming at some point, so I know I'm going to eat my words, but you know how we do it over here. We just pretend like we never said it, and we double down anyway.
Petty, right?
Hey, are you calling me petty?
Yeah, you petty.
You petty.
I'm petty,
So stop.
But, yeah, so my You Played Yourself goes to the Cowboys. A jump off the bandwagon if you want to. We couldn't afford Derrick Henry. Meanwhile, you're paying Zeke Elliott $2 million, who's a shell of his former self. You paid all your guys late. Derrick Henry's cap hit's like $5 million. You couldn't figure out a guy that wanted to come to Dallas, proceeded to run right through your defense like they weren't even there. It writes itself. So here we go in on our way to disappointment, already there. But
Jeez.
You played yourself.
It just stinks all around, right? I think it's just something where it's cool the fans are fed up, but they've been fed up for a while, right? Now they're just starting to verbalize it. And you've been verbalizing it for a while, I think, ever since you've had this platform, and as long as you could talk, I think.
Yeah. No kidding. Yeah, it's more of the same, and it's not going to change. No in-season moves are going to change anything. So this is kind of the product that they're going to be stuck with, and you know, on and on we go. But speaking of a bandwagon to jump onto, Magic Mind. Nice. You already know, number one podcast listeners. I've talked about it before. Vish, we've talked about it before on here. So recently, I had to go out of town for a work conference while my next shipment of Magic Mind was on the way. It was poor timing on my part, but it did allow me to do a little experiment comparing the work week where I was physically away and away from my Magic Mind to this past week of taking it every morning. You know, like I said, I've talked about it before, but currently I'm on day 5 in a row of taking Magic Mind in the morning as part of my routine. And I got to tell you, the results have been very positive. I know I say this each time, but this little experiment is perfect for Magic Mind's intentions, since Magic Mind has clean ingredients that they say can take up to 3 to 4 days to reach their full effect, which I'm definitely feeling now. So having taken it consecutive days, I do feel the positive impact it has.
Wow.
I've talked a bunch of times before about how convenient it is. It's ready to grab. I keep it in my fridge, how it gives me clarity. There's no need to build my energy up from the sleepy mornings and no crash midday that most of us are accustomed to. I was looking for something clean to supplement my body with so that I'm present in what I'm doing instead of worrying about everything else. We all know there are too many distractions in the world, but Magic Mind's allowed me to focus on the task at hand, whether that's work, kids, anything around the house, with friends, that sort of thing. It's helped me accomplish being more present. So back before I knew about Magic Mind, I figured there had to be something better than the roller coaster of jitters that adding more caffeine to your system does. And then now with kids, I can't rely on morning workouts like I used to, or maybe that's an excuse because I can't wake up as early as I used to. But in came Magic Mind's mental performance shot. It was an easy addition to the daily routine. It gets you focused, mentally clear, motivated, and productive. I think it reduces stress, and that's with some of their ingredients. They have mushroom nootropics and adaptogens. And then they have 100% of your daily vitamin C and D per bottle. So it's like taking your vitamins in the morning in the form of a flavorful shot. And I mentioned the roller coaster of jitters that caffeine does. The reason Magic Mind doesn't do the same is that it has time-release caffeine, Vish. So caffeine doesn't actually...
Nice.
There's something I learned from taking Magic Mind and reading up on it before I recommended it to you all is caffeine doesn't actually give you energy. It just blocks the adenosine neuroreceptors in your brain, and those are those receptors that tell you you're tired. So it's basically just tricking your mind into not knowing you're tired.
There you go.
But when they unblock about 1 to 3 hours later, that's when you experience that crash, that sudden drop, that caffeine crash we're all used to. So Magic Mind's formula uses 12 active ingredients to help support your body's energy engine instead. And it's like a day after day. Like I said, it builds on itself when you take it in consecutive days. You know, I talk about everybody's busy, but being busy doesn't mean you have to be less stressed. I feel like a lot of times people are like busy and they equate it with increased stress. Magic Mind actually supports that notion. They have herbs in Magic Mind's formula that provide safe and effective stress reduction, a sense of calmness, and a lifted mood without hurting your energy bank. So, you number one podcast listeners, I know I say this a lot. I wouldn't recommend something I didn't use and trust myself. Magic Mind's doctor validated. It's created with a scientific advisory board of doctors and medical researchers. They've worked on it for over 10 years and had over hundreds of iterations to perfect their formula. They have over 200 scientific studies behind every ingredient included in Magic Mind. I love personally that they're, as a company, 100% carbon neutral, and that they're so confident in their work that they'll refund you 100%, no questions asked, in the first 100 days after buying it, which is huge because they're literally putting their money where their mouth is. So I guess where my mouth is. So trust your boy.
Yeah, that's a third of a year too.
Yeah. Vish, I know you've tried it recently and you talked about it last episode, and you got a new pack coming your way too. So you'll have to start that experiment like I'm doing. I'll
see how it's like.
Back to you, number one podcast listeners, as I continue it. But so trust your boy, number one podcast listeners. Get yourself some Magic Mind. I got a slightly new link for you guys to continue the savings. Magic Mind's been good to me, and I know a lot of you number one podcast listeners have taken advantage of it, but please use this updated link. It'll be in the episode description. It's in my previous ones. I updated the link in those too. It is magicmind.com/prembrulee20. That's PREMBRULEE, the number 2, the number 0. And when prompted, enter the code PREMBRULE20. So PREMBRULE20. It's a slightly updated link. This will get you the most updated savings and the most up-to-date head start on each of your busy days. So that's magicmind.com/PREMBRULE20. Enter the code PREMBRULE20 when prompted. That'll get you up to 48% off your first subscription or 20% off a one-time purchase when you enter PREMBRULE20 at checkout. So go get yourself one. Last episode, I told you I dropped some off for my dad, our dad, Vish. Yep. My pops and stepmom already placed a full other order since then.
Nice.
So you already know I wouldn't steer my own family wrong. You know I wouldn't steer this number 1 podcast listener family wrong. So go get you some. magicmind.com/PREMBRULE20 with discount code PREMBRULE20 for up to 48% off a subscription. You know I've said this. I get the 30-pack if I were you. It's the best value. It's the most convenient to keep in your fridge and just grab on the go. And unrelated to this mental performance shot, but Magic Mind also added sleep shots that help you fall asleep, improve the quality of your sleep, and wake up refreshed. Vish, not really for you, right?
Yeah, I don't really have a problem falling asleep, I just, but I did want to say, so you kind of mentioned that you use it at the start of your morning, especially with 2 little ones and getting going. Yeah. That afternoon pick-me-up, Magic Mind works wonders as well, right? So, I usually at that time am not in the mood for coffee, I am in the mood for Diet Coke. But with the ingredients and the scientific studies around it and just the level of ingredients that Magic Mind has versus a Diet Coke might have, it's great for that extra boost in that work day. And then also when you get home and you're trying to play with kids, like you don't drag. Yeah. You feel more energized. So
totally.
I think it's I guess you can do it when you wake up in the afternoon, and I guess there's a sleep component too. So there you go.
That is a really important point. And everyone, podcast listeners, it's not intended to replace your caffeine either. So you can still take your caffeine. It works well with it. But whether it's morning or an afternoon pick me up like Vish uses it, it's a great idea. It doesn't have to just be in the morning. That's a great point, Vish. Yeah. So, magicmind.com/PREMBRULE20. Enter the code PREMBRULE20. If you forget it, it's in the episode description. Don't play yourselves. Get with it. You already know I wouldn't steer you wrong, number 1 podcast listeners.
It probably would be super helpful for those double Monday Night Football double headers that we have lately. So keep you awake a little bit longer. Don't take the sleep kind for it, but maybe
no. There you go. Maybe if you're watching the Cowboys, you want to take that one. But
there you go.
Anyway, I think we hit the target with Magic Mind. Speaking of targets and not hitting it, the Kansas City Chiefs, you played yourself. And you asked number 1 podcast listeners, why would the Kansas City Chiefs, who are 3-0 despite not playing their best football, be on you played yourselves? Well, first of all, you already know we're haters. But second of all, this one's for you, all of you fantasy football owners that have him. You played yourself goes to the Kansas City Chiefs for their lack of targets to Travis Kelce. Patrick Mahomes fed us some bullshit like they're doing some, like they're like triple teaming Travis Kelce as if Travis Kelce is this new enigma in football that they weren't previously doing that. I find that really hard to believe. So this idea that he's produced almost nothing all of a sudden is kind of wild to me and worthy of you played yourself. And this one's for you fantasy football owners that have Travis Kelce. You number 1 podcast listeners, I don't have him on any of my teams. This one's just for you out there. So, I'm here for you all. On that same note, Vish, you played yourself to Christian McCaffrey fantasy football owners.
Yeah.
You also do not have him, but this is for you all. This is in solitude for you guys. He has Achilles tendonitis, and he's apparently in Germany seeing a specialist. I would assume it is not something that can be done in the States. Otherwise, why would someone all the way on the West Coast go to Germany for treatment? You played yourself, goes to the Niners, because it feels kind of fishy. Like, did they know how bad this was preseason? He was kind of a game time decision game one, and then has been largely shut down.
It just was so odd.
Yeah.
I mean, we would have got like rumblings at some point, or, of all the research that we do and even the preview that we had last month, there was no indication that CMC was going to be out. So I know there was like some rumblings of a calf injury, and that's why he wasn't playing preseason, but you also know you're paying for a running back. He's a little bit older, but it just was odd. And I know it sucks from a fantasy football perspective because he was really the consensus number one without any hesitation, right? So I think if you were in dynasty leagues or keeper leagues and you had some running backs, maybe you could reach for a wide receiver first. But for the most part, you're going CMC. No qualms about it. So, it sucks.
Yeah. I wanted to just quickly go over just some of the injuries that have already happened early in the season. We mentioned CMC, his teammate Deebo Samuel, who seemingly is on the injury report every year, by the way. Eagles receivers, A.J. Brown and then Devontae Smith. Jordan Love got hurt in that first game in Brazil at the end of their game. I think he's close to coming back, though. David Njoku. Isaiah Pacheco's on the injured reserve. He fractured one of the bones in his leg. You have obviously the yet another concussion for Tua, which maybe that's a topic for another episode once we gain more. Puka, Nakua, and Cooper Kupp both went down in consecutive weeks. The Rams still finding ways to hang around. But there's a lot. It always feels like every year there's more injuries than not, but it feels pretty top heavy. I mean, you're looking at a bunch of players that are probably, average draft position in the top 2-3 rounds just from that list. So pretty substantial. Okay. You played yourself to the Chicago Bears. So, Chicago, you're saying it wasn't the QB because, Vish, remind me what Steelers quarterback Justin Fields' record is right now?
I think it's 3-0.
Oh, I think you're right.
Undefeated.
Yeah, so you played yourself to the Bears. It seems like it permeates that franchise. I can relate to that level of ineptitude. So, hopefully for Caleb Williams' sake, that's not the case. But obviously he's just a few games into his career. But
right.
They just had to part ways with Fields and start over with the quarterback. We'll see how that pans out.
Yep. I think it's one of those where, like, he wasn't even the starter, right? Coming into the season, it was going to be Russell Wilson. And, like, now, unless Justin Fields is the reason you lose, like, 3 or 4 or 5 straight, you can't go back to Russell Wilson because
I think so.
I think the locker room you'd lose the locker room. And Tomlin's one of the better head coaches in the league, and I think he has a little bit more awareness around that. So, it might be the end for Russell Wilson, but never say never.
Tomlin
I guess
was the guy who named Russell Wilson the starter, despite it seeming like Fields had the better preseason. But even he recently, after the 3-0 start, kind of left the door wide open for Justin Fields to take it. So, I think it's setting up for that. You're right. I don't think you can go back to him.
Nope.
Last sports one before I turn over to you to add a couple to this fold, Vish.
Yep.
I hate to do this. This is not really football related, but I got to add you played yourself to our guy, Garrett Wilson, receiver for the Jets. Go Bucks alert, always. But what is our guy doing with these negative swag, loose sleeves like a quarterback? Like, dude, what are we doing here, man? We look so goofy out here. It is absolutely zero swag to do that. It's like, if you get the same sleeves as Aaron Rodgers, it's not the right look for you, man.
Yeah, and most of the quarterbacks have it just so they can actually throw the football a little bit easier, which kind of makes sense, right? You want to keep that arm loose or whatever. And I guess he's not the only one that's doing it either, right? Tyreek is doing it. Sauce Gardner, his teammates doing it. It's just odd. I mean, you have shoulder pads anyways, so why wouldn't you want to cover them up and whatever?
All right, Vish, take it away.
Yeah, so I have a larger you played yourself, and as a whole, it's to the entire AL West. Right?
Yes.
So we talked about baseball at the beginning. You already know that we're a pro Stros podcast. I think for the first time in history, we had the 5 of us on, the cousins, after the Stros won in 2022, and that was phenomenal just to be able to laugh in everyone's faces, right? But we're not going to really focus so much on the Astros, but just the ineptitude that exists with the other teams. I'm going to go in order of how they finished or how they are right now in their standings. So just to give you context for the number one podcast and your headphones listeners, the Astros started off 7-19, were dead last in May, and then it's obviously well known they were about 10 games back sometime in June as well. So in second place right now are the Seattle Mariners. They were on a roll, in great position until they literally shat down their own legs, right? They forgot to put underwear on, and they just kept shitting, and there's no stopping it. And in reality, there's no way from an objective landscape you would say the Astros should overtake them. The Astros had a lot of injuries. They had people in and out of their lineup, both from an offensive perspective. Verlander's just kind of getting back into the rhythm. And now they're up. They won the AL West over 4 games, right? And probably many of you saw this a couple of days ago after the Astros clinched, but there was a clip that went viral and then stayed viral and then is now viral again. One of their players, Cal Raleigh, I'm probably butchering his name. I don't care. Who cares? On June 19th, we'll just play the clip right now.
Always good when the Astros lose, right?
Really? I mean, and from that date, the Mariners are 35-40, and the Astros are 46-32. Insane. An ultimate you played yourself to this guy and the Mariners. Third are the defending World Series champions. Still bitter about this. We all know.
Oh, do you think they're going to repeat?
I don't think so, because they're not going to go to the postseason. They've been eliminated for like a month, I think.
Okay.
They were bringing back their entire team. Yeah, they got played with a little injuries, but a lot of people picked them because they were not losing anyone. They were probably gaining some, and they had some experience. They're still 10.5 back. The key is when the Astros were 10 back, if you actually look at the standings, that picture that surfaces on Twitter, especially our feeds, the Rangers were also 10 back at that same point in time. So, the Astros are inevitable, but here we go. I did see a tweet that was posted. There was a Ryan Browninger that shared that the Astros, when they clinched their AL West championship, was their 7th.
Which, by the way, 7 out of 8 years.
7 out of 8 years, yep.
The 1 year that they didn't was the shortened season. And it's, 4 straight?
Yep. And so the tweet was that now they're tied with the Rangers for most AL West championships. The kicker, especially that was mentioned in this tweet, was the Astros joined the division in 2013. The Rangers have been in it since 1972. It's just like so silly that like there.
Oh, we bet your ass. You want to do the honors of sounding it, Vish?
Yeah, there we go. I just the hose mad, just oh my god, it is just insane. So now where are we at? I guess third behind the Astros, so fourth in the division.
The soon to be Sacramento A's.
The Sacramento A's, yeah. Oakland A's. I'm not gonna bash on the 5 fans that probably they have.
Look,
but they have had a following, and it just sucks because we talked about a dreadful owner that just sucks the life out of a franchise, but not sucks the life out of the franchise to the point that some of these owners do, like John Fisher of the Oakland A's. He's just, there's a news report that went viral recently as well after he posted a letter. They weren't able to stay in Oakland because they couldn't find a stadium that's worthwhile or kind of a location for it. And then the kicker here is they'll be in Sacramento for 3 years because they haven't even solidified things in Las Vegas where they're eventually going to be moving to. It's just silly. I hope that he sells the team for the sake of baseball and just keeping Oakland somewhere and just having some level of importance in that division. So I'm not going to bash them too hard yet, just because their owner is just awful. And then last, right now in the division, is the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim, or whatever they're called now. We talked about Mike Trout on the last episode. I think Roche went into it a little bit.
Yeah.
But just what an abomination of a club. I mean, not only did he not finish the year again, Trout, we just talked about a generational player, which say what you will about him, but Shohei Ohtani didn't just go to the Yankees or Red Sox or the Cubs, or he just went right across the town, and he's putting up insane numbers. So the fact that he left, wanted to stay in LA, and still is this generational superstar is just an indictment on that whole franchise. So that's a whole you played yourself to the entire AL West, aside from the Houston Astros.
Love it. Sound that hose mad.
Hose mad. Hose mad.
Sound
There
that
you go.
petty alert one more time, baby.
Petty alert. Petty alert. Petty alert.
Yeah, Mike Trout, 6'2" player, the 6'1's injury. He's I'm sure he's been at every Eagles game so far. I might have even flown to Brazil for their opener. So who knows? Okay, to wrap up, you played yourself. Our non-sports candidates for immediate retirement and to come to the front of the You Played Yourself congregation. Mine came recently. So I went to the Teddy Swims concert recently with my wife. She's a big Teddy Swims fan. He's a very talented singer. Great show. But my You Played Yourself goes to people who get too hammered at concerts. Listen, I'm all about having a good time, but I don't even get the goal. Like, paying all that money for a ticket just at best to not remember the performance, and at worst get kicked out of the show you paid to see. The worst part is I saw this in effect on a Monday night, which is when we saw Teddy Swims, and people just like getting escorted out. Like, what was the plan? These like grown men and women. It's like not even a teenager. I don't get it. You got one?
I do. I can't really relate because I just don't go to concerts as much anymore. I also don't mind admitting that I had to look up who Teddy Swims is. So there you go.
Nice.
For what you do. My immediate retirement, You Played Yourself, is those people who decide to FaceTime in public places.
Oh, yeah.
Especially grocery stores. I mean, going into a grocery store, inside a grocery store, these are the same people who are the pet peeve or the bane of my existence because they just kind of have their cards either perpendicular to an aisle, which is nearly impossible, or they just have it like slanted enough where you're like, can I get through? Or they have it parked on one side, they're FaceTiming and they're looking on the other side of the aisle. It's just, we just need to get rid of that FaceTime or just have very spotty service in that so you can't actually FaceTime. And then speaking of grocery stores, I'm just going to add self-checkout. If you don't know how to use self-checkout, do not go into self-checkout, okay? It's super simple. If it's going to take you a while, if you're one of those individuals who has to write a check to pay, do not go into self-checkout.
Oh, no.
Do not go into self-checkout. You know, when you're kind of going through, I think recently I was in a grocery store because I was picking up my son from a daycare and he wanted Cheez-Its and I was not going to go through a tantrum on the 7-minute ride home. So went to the grocery store, got Cheez-Its. That's all we had to grab. So I didn't put them in a cart or anything like that. Grabbed Cheez-Its and people were just like dicking around. And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. There's gotta be like a fast pass for people that know how to use self checkout. So
Love it.
yeah.
Okay. Now it's time for Am I Hatin'? We're going to say statements that might be hating, but it's a safe space anyway. So, Vish, you want to go first? You got a candidate for Am I Hatin'?
You know, I think it's something that is odd. It might be like a pet peeve of mine, but it's just when you're going down a long street and the lights don't sync up. It's annoying. I don't know to blame the city. I don't know to blame
I got
traffic.
so many of the... Yeah, it's the most annoying thing.
The way it should work is if you are driving the speed limit and something is turning yellow, as long as you're going the speed limit, the next block or next way over would be turning yellow as well. It should not be green, red, green, red, green, red, stop and go. It's obnoxious. I don't get it. And then also around that note is where sometimes there's the sensors where they don't really need to be sensors. And there's a few people that are only going to this neighborhood or whatever, but then the light turns. That's just really what it is. So,
my Hatin for this week. So, like I said, I traveled for work. I know people have talked about this before, but does every single airport employee have to be in a bad mood? And if so, like, I know they're probably overworked, underpaid. I get that notion completely. But it never feels like anybody has a single soul smile on their face. And yeah, we're all allowed to have bad days, but like, why does it feel so aggressive when you're going through TSA? Like, as if we're supposed to know, when each airport has its own rules, seemingly, depending on what scanners they have. As if we're supposed to memorize them. Like, people don't fly all the time, one. And the technology on those scanners changes every time, and every airport's different. And they're like, how do you not know this? Just relax. Like, I'm not a pro at this. I'm clearly not TSA pre-check. Maybe you can expect it in that line when they get certified, but like let's take it easy on the rookie travelers here. That's my Hatin. I feel like I'm probably going to get a lot of support for that, but it does feel very like aggressive and mean. Like, dang, what did I do to you? Yeah. It's the first thing in the morning. There's no way you would have had this many things happen to you by now, right?
Yeah.
I get it if it's late in the day. Maybe you had a rough day, but anyway. All right, number one podcast listeners. On that note, let's move on to who you got and what you feeling. Last episode, Vish, me, you, and Roche went through our NFL preview by division in a rapid fire form. I won't recap all those. We're going to keep those handy to talk about them later. Some of these picks are looking rough already, but we're going to hold steady for right now and see how it goes. Our Chiefs pick looks pretty good, but that was the safest one of them all. So we'll see what happens. This week, I wanted to do through 3 weeks NFL football.
Okay.
I wanted to do a little game of trouble or they're okay.
Okay.
So I'm going to give you a list of teams, and you tell me if they're in trouble right now, 3 weeks in, or they'll be okay. All right. First up, the 0-3 Cincinnati Bengals.
I'm going to say double trouble.
Wow.
Yeah. Their defense can't stop anyone. I think everyone saw the stat on Monday Night Football when they lost to Washington. They didn't punt and still lost the game. That sucks.
Wow.
And that
Crazy.
also includes they didn't extend Jamar Chase. So that's still lingering as well. That's why I said double trouble.
Yep, definitely. Okay. I think I'm going to agree with you on most of these, but I'll chime in if I don't.
Yeah,
if
absolutely.
I disagree. How about that? The 1-2 Ravens, who just ran through the Cowboys like a hot knife through butter. What do you think?
I'm just going to say okay. I have a feeling that if they blew that game against Dallas, like blow it up, and they almost did. And they lost to the Raiders the same fashion the week before. And they've done that in the past, right? I think it was against the Browns where they just like imploded and they lost the game themselves. They beat themselves all too often for having such a great coach. So
yeah, they blew that opening week game against the Chiefs too. They had a real chance to win that one. So, they were a toe short, but the play before that, Lamar Jackson missed a wide open receiver in the end zone to win that game. So, okay. Also 1-2, the defending NFC champions, the San Francisco 49ers. Talked about them earlier. A lot of injuries, but where do you see them?
Okay, and that's because I believe in their coach Shanahan. Like, he's a guru. They're gonna be okay. Hopefully Ayuk kind of comes into play and He didn't play in the preseason, and it shows. But I think it's just something where they've had a lot of injuries. We talked about CMC, but people already had their reservations around this. So, but I think coaching matters, and they have a good one. That's it.
Yeah. Okay. Staying in the NFC West, the Los Angeles Rams, 1-2 also.
As long as Stafford stays upright, okay.
Yeah.
But again, injuries. We talked about Puka and Cooper. Their O-line is battered as well. So, but yeah. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I think they still have a chance, and we're talking about 3 wild card spots. So if they can kind of weather the storm until their receivers get back, I think Kyron Williams is doing really well, and obviously Stafford is really good too. So I'm with you there. They won a big one against the Niners, a comeback win. And I think, like you said about the Ravens, it was a big one for them because 1-2 is way better than 0-3. So
yep, especially in that division.
Yeah. Okay, the Cleveland Browns, who are 1-2.
I'll be biased in here, but I'm going to say trouble. It's around everywhere. I think after the Browns lost to the Cowboys in Week 1, Watson just looked like ass, and you saw. I mean, you even talked about how bad the Cowboys defense is, which says something in and of itself when a quarterback that you're paying this much money for. So they have a talented defense. They have a lot of playmakers. They do have a battled O-line, which is fine. A lot of teams are struggling, but Watson just looks horrendous. And if Stefanski had his way, similar to the way what happened in Carolina, Canales was able to bench Bryce Young. If Stefanski was able to bench Deshaun Watson, he'd probably do it, but I think it's just coming from the top. You're paying too much for this quarterback. I don't know. I mean, I don't. It could be double trouble, but they're 1-2. So
yeah. Okay. Last couple. The 1-2 Dolphins obviously lost to. I think we probably agree they're in trouble because they're backup quarterback.
Yep, and it's all on Tua. I think trouble is because they just didn't have a viable backup to Tua.
Yeah,
that's just silly. I mean, Skylar Thompson, great, but he looked horrendous.
And I'll go ahead and take this last one. The Dallas Cowboys.
Who?
Trouble.
Yeah, you covered this. I mean, it's the same thing that you mentioned about holding on to Mike McCarthy. For whatever reason, Jerry Jones is a businessman. Cut your losses when you have them. Yes, he's a great offensive-minded coach. Give it that. He's not a coach. He's a coordinator. Let him be a coordinator, and I'm sure he's going to do really well. Belichick and Vrabel are still available. You can cut your losses, get ahead of it, and do that whole, hey, you have control of the team, even if on paper Jerry Jones is still the GM. If those, you don't see it happening, but I mean, those two names carry a lot of weight, similar to what happened in the 90s.
All right, let's move on to what you feeling. I got a few really quick here. My people, certified #1 podcast listeners, RP and Matt got married in Washington, D.C., and we had a time there. That was a lot of fun. Also, I know you shouted out last episode, but wanted to shout out nephew Calvi for being 3. I know you're going to talk about it, so I don't want to steal your thunder too much. But my dog Teddy turned 6 also.
Let's go, Teddy.
A few days ago. And I had the huge honor of getting to officiate my brother-in-law and his new wife's wedding. I got to see my boys be ring bearers, even though our older one, toddler, very much did not cooperate.
Hey, it's fine.
And cried, but it'll make for funny pictures later.
It will. We laughed, not because, but it was just great because toddlers are so unpredictable. Like I'm sure he did fine during the rehearsal. And
that's debatable too.
It was okay. But either way, it's when you have a toddler as a ring bearer, you know what to expect. Yep. So, love Barrett, and I'm sure he's going to laugh at it when he gets older, or it's going to, what goes around comes around, I guess. So what he is whatever that is. But
what are you feeling lately, Vish?
Yep. Calvin turned 3, and it's just been, it's really cool just to celebrate with family, and get all the calls and texts and all that kind of stuff of people just remembering and the gifts, and just seeing him open gifts was cool. We celebrated on Sunday. His birthday was on a Tuesday right after Labor Day, so we made sure it was special. We took him out to eat at a restaurant. He did really well. Then we took him out for his favorite frozen yogurt, and he puts Oreos, M&Ms, sometimes marshmallows, and then this place has Minion themes, so he likes the Minion sprinkles because rainbow sprinkles, I guess, don't do it justice. But so there you go. And then even this morning, my in-laws were over, so his papa and grandma, and he made his own little apple pie.
Wow.
So it's kind of cool.
Nice. Love that, dude. That 3-year-old. All right, you number one podcast listeners, you know how we like to wrap up each episode. It's time for Too Much Sense. Let's hit that intro. Okay, my Too Much Sense for this week is, I saw this quote and love this one, but it says, don't ignore the effort of someone who tries to keep in touch. It's not all the time someone cares. Love that. In an age with endless distractions and everyone being busy, like we've talked about, I talked about it earlier when I was talking about Magic Mind, everybody is busy.
Yep.
But someone checking on you is the ultimate form of love and care. I would argue it's one of the purest forms and the ultimate forms of showing love and care. Checking on someone means that you're thinking about them, you're wishing them the best, whether it's good or bad. It's an important thing in life to be the person to check on someone or have someone check on you. So this is my encouragement to all of you number one podcast listeners is to either appreciate someone who's been checking on you if you've been on the receiving end, or if you haven't in a while, check on someone that you care about. So
yeah, I was going to include this on what I'm feeling, but I think I wanted to just make sure I said this as well. I guess 3 much sense since Calvin's 3 now. You like what I did there? Mm-hmm. I don't want to steal your thunder, and I know usually this is the end of it, but I had a pretty life-altering event happen. If you want to know what that was, I'm good. I'm here. Loving this, but I'm just really thankful for my wife, my entire family, my friends, and you just talked about checking in on people. I've just been really fortunate and blessed to have people check on me, call, reach out to me, and all that. And it also reminds me that when I get better, right, and I will pay it forward in a different way. So usually we've said, if there's anything I can do for you, let me know, right? It's a cliche saying. That's kind of what it is. Even though you mean it, some of us really do mean it. We'll follow up, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. I was talking to someone and they said, what do you need me to be?
Oh, love that. More deliberate. Yeah.
How do you want me to be? Right? Do you want me to be a listener? Do you want me to be an advocate? Do you want me to help solve your solutions? We've talked about it privately, but similar goes to when, Jackie, my wife, is talking about her work. I don't need to solve her problems. She just needs someone to listen sometimes. And I'm sure vice versa. And we're problem solvers by nature, you and I. Yeah. And sometimes we have to check ourselves. And so it was just great timing, and, yourself included, like you're just constantly just looking out people and what that looks like. And also paying forward when things get better, right? And so I've just been, that's something I just won't ever forget.
Cool. Love that perspective. You always did pay it forward, so I have no doubt you will.
Thanks.
When you're on the receiving end, being in a good spot to be able to give out that love and care is important too. So, if you're not at a spot to give it out, just remember that when you are, and you inevitably will be, you number one podcast listeners out there, to help spread the wealth when it's your time to be able to give to someone else. Because you sure would want that same grace from people when you need it and need to be the receiver of it. So
yep, for sure.
Anyway, number one podcast listeners, that does it for a brand new episode of the number one podcast in your headphones, Prem Brulee. You already know the spiel. Like, subscribe, leave a review, tell a friend to tell a friend. Go get that Magic Mind. Remember, magicmind.com/PremBrulee20 and enter the code PremBrulee20 to get a discount. We mentioned it multiple times, but I wanted to leave you with that in case you forgot. And if you forget again, it's in the episode description. Got it there for you. And let me know what you think. I appreciate you, number one podcast listeners, more than anything. Appreciate all the support, the shares, the comments, the engagement when we ask questions and get you all involved. It means the world to me. Never take it for granted. Appreciate you, Vish, as always. Thank you for
absolutely
jumping on this episode.
For sure.
Thanks, big bro. Love you.
Love you too, man.
And love you all, number one podcast listeners.
Yep.
Talk to you next time.
Peace.